Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me speak to your soul for a moment. Have you ever felt like life was moving so fast and somehow you weren't in control anymore? Like the days were just passing and you were caught in the middle of it all, responding, reacting, running, but not really living? You see, we all reach a point where we look around and ask ourselves, how did I get here? That question doesn't come from weakness, it comes from awareness. And awareness is the first step to change. Life will always try to control you. The world will hand you distractions, pressure, deadlines, opinions, pain. People will expect things from you that you never even agreed to. You'll carry burdens that weren't meant for you. And if you don't decide who's driving the car, life will hand the keys to anything or anyone willing to take the wheel. But hear me now. God did not create you to be a passenger in your own life. You were created with power, with purpose, with the ability to choose, to shift, to rise. I'm not here to give you hype, I'm here to give you truth. This isn't just about motivation, this is about taking responsibility for what's yours. This is about waking up the part of you that stopped believing you had a say in your story. You don't need to wait on the perfect moment, you don't need to wait on someone to rescue you, you don't need to wait until the fear goes away. What you need, what you already have, is the strength to take one step, and then another, and then another. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk with you through 5 powerful ways to take back your life. Not just your time, not just your schedule, but your peace, your direction, your fire. These aren't just habits. These are principles that will reconnect you to who you are and who God called you to be. So I want you to lean in, lock in, don't scroll away, because this moment might just be the spark that reminds you you've had the power all along. Taking control of your life begins with one undeniable truth. You must take full responsibility for it. No more blaming your past. No more blaming your parents, your environment, your lack of opportunity, your heartbreak, or your failures. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start looking inward is the moment your life begins to shift. Because here's the thing. Life will give you all kinds of reasons to stay stuck. It will hand you excuses that sound reasonable, feel justified, and even make you feel temporarily comforted. But excuses, no matter how convincing, won't move you forward. They just keep you still, dressed up as safety. And in that stillness, your potential slowly starts to fade. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything that happened to you was your fault. No, it means you refuse to let what happened be the reason you don't move. It means you decide that no matter what was broken in the past, you will be the one to rebuild. No matter who walked away, you will be the one who keeps walking. It's about choosing to be the author of your future instead of the victim of your past. That shift from victim to leader, from blame to ownership, is where freedom lives. It's where your power starts to wake up. Because when you believe your life is in someone else's hands, you also believe your future is beyond your control. But when you take it back, when you own your choices, your attitude, your mindset, you realize you were never powerless. You just hadn't activated your authority. The truth is, responsibility can feel heavy at first. It's much easier to say, they did this to me, or I'm like this because of what I've been through. But that road leads to bitterness, not growth. The real strength is in saying, this is where I am, but it's not where I'm staying. That strength doesn't come from pride, it comes from humility. The humility to admit that you may have made mistakes, that you've let fear lead at times, that you've ignored your own potential, but it's also the humility to believe that with God, it's not too late. That every new morning is another opportunity to choose better, to live better, to be better. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a blessing in disguise, because it means your future isn't locked in your past, it's wide open. And when you really start owning your life, you stop waiting. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You become the one who shows up. You start making different decisions. You stop saying someday and start saying now, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's slow. Because now you understand control doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from controlling your response to it. It comes from showing up for yourself with discipline, with integrity, with consistency. Every small choice becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you're building. Not the life someone gave you, not the life the world handed you, the life you chose, the life you claimed, the life you took responsibility for. Everything in your life begins in the mind. Before the action, before the habit, before the result, there's always a thought. That's why mastering your mindset isn't optional if you want to take control of your life. It's essential, because the way you think determines the way you live. If your mind is cluttered with fear, doubt, negativity, and old beliefs that no longer serve you, it doesn't matter how talented you are or how big your dreams are, you'll keep running in circles. The mind will always find a way to sabotage what the heart wants if it's not trained to support the vision. Your thoughts are seeds. If you keep planting doubt, don't be surprised when you grow discouragement. But if you start planting belief, start speaking life, start shifting what you focus on, you change what you experience. That's the power of mindset. Discipline in your mind doesn't come naturally. The world is loud. Social media is always feeding you images of who you should be, what you should have, and how far behind you are. And if you're not careful, your thoughts start getting hijacked. You begin to feel like you're never enough, like you're running out of time, like you're already losing before you've even started. But mastering your mindset means you stop letting the world do your thinking for you. You pause, you filter, you choose your thoughts like you choose your friends on purpose. You don't let every opinion take up space in your mind. You don't let fear build a home there. You start replacing lies with truth. You remind yourself who you are and whose you are. That's where strength is built, in the silence, in the stillness, in the repetition of choosing faith over fear again and again. You have to speak to yourself like someone worth fighting for. The world will try to tear you down, but your inner voice, that's what builds you up. If your self-talk is always harsh, always negative, always critical, you'll never feel safe enough to grow. Mastering your mindset means learning to be your own coach, not your own enemy. You start catching those toxic thoughts before they take root. You don't ignore the hard things, but you don't let them define you either. You remind yourself, I've been through worse and I'm still here. You learn to encourage yourself in the dark. That's real strength. Not just thinking positive when things are good, but training your mind to stay focused when everything feels like it's falling apart. And when your mindset starts to change, your decisions follow. You stop settling. You stop self-sabotaging. You start believing that you're capable of more, and you start acting like it. You begin to carry yourself with quiet confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. Not because life is easy, but because you've learned how to anchor your thoughts even when the storm hits. You learn how to pause before reacting, how to lead yourself with clarity instead of being led by emotion. That's the shift. That's what separates the ones who dream from the ones who do. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's discipline in the mind, consistency in the mindset, control in the thoughts that create your reality. Because when your mind is in order, everything else starts to follow. You don't wait to feel ready, you think yourself ready, and then you move. You don't wait for the circumstances to change. You decide who you are in the middle of them. And from there, you begin to take back your life from the inside out. Your environment is not just a background to your life. It's the atmosphere that shapes your decisions, your habits, and your peace. You could have the strongest mindset in the world, but if you're constantly surrounded by chaos, negativity, and noise, it becomes harder to stay grounded. The people around you, the spaces you live in, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, they all leave a mark on you. You're always becoming a product of your environment, whether you realize it or not. If you're around people who are always complaining, doubting, criticizing, or stuck in cycles of fear, eventually their energy becomes your energy. If you're living in a space that's cluttered, uninspired, and filled with distractions, it starts to reflect in your focus and your clarity. That's why guarding your environment is not about being cold or distant. It's about protecting your growth. There comes a time when you have to take inventory of what's around you and ask, does this support the future I'm building? Every voice in your life is either building you up or breaking you down. Every habit in your daily rhythm is either pulling you closer to your purpose or pushing you further away. When you start taking control of your environment, you're not being harsh, you're being wise. You start choosing people who speak life into you, not confusion. You start building a space that inspires clarity and peace. You start consuming content that educates and elevates rather than entertains and distracts. You begin to realize that your environment is not a passive element of your life. It's a powerful force, and you get to shape it. When your environment is aligned with your goals, your spirit finds room to breathe again. Some environments you're born into and others you walk into by choice, but either way, you are never powerless to shift what surrounds you. It might mean having hard conversations. It might mean letting go of friendships that only existed in comfort, not growth. It might mean decluttering your space or reorganizing your daily schedule to create room for peace. You have to be honest about what's draining you. Some of the weight you feel isn't from within, it's from what you've allowed around you. And when you start clearing that out, you'll be amazed at how quickly your energy returns. You don't need more motivation, you need less distraction. You need fewer voices of doubt and more voices of alignment. The environment you build today is the soil your future will grow in. Your environment isn't just physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's relational, it's the energy you carry with you and the energy that enters your space. That's why prayer matters. That's why boundaries matter. That's why discipline matters. When you guard your environment, you're not just protecting your peace, you're protecting your purpose. You stop letting every invitation get a yes. You stop entertaining every conversation. You begin to filter what you allow into your life because now you understand that not everything deserves access to you. Not everyone can walk with you where God is taking you. Not every space is safe for your spirit. And the more you honor your energy, your time, your space, the more aligned your life becomes with the vision God placed in your heart. As you start to create a stronger environment, you begin to notice a shift in your focus. It becomes easier to hear God's voice over the noise. It becomes easier to stick to your goals because your environment is no longer working against you, it's now working for you. You find strength in the stillness. You find clarity in the quiet. You find power in the boundaries. You find freedom in letting go of what no longer fits. And you realize that guarding your environment is not about being isolated, it's about being intentional. Because when the space around you is clear, the path ahead of you becomes clearer too. Discipline is what stands between where you are and where you want to be. It's not the motivation that gets you there, and it's not the inspiration that carries you through. It's the daily choices you make when nobody's watching. The small, often boring, sometimes uncomfortable decisions that slowly shape your future. We live in a world obsessed with instant gratification, quick results, easy wins, and overnight success stories. But the truth is, anything lasting, anything meaningful is built over time. And that time demands discipline. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your habits. If your days are not aligned with your goals, your life won't be either. Control doesn't just show up one day, it's built brick by brick through daily discipline. Discipline starts when you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, do I feel like it? And you start saying, this is who I am. Because the moment your identity shifts, your actions follow. You wake up early not because you enjoy it every day, but because it's part of the life you're building. You exercise not because it's always fun, but because it's aligned with health and longevity. You sit in silence, read, write, reflect, not because the world tells you to, but because your soul needs it. Discipline is the art of choosing your future over your feelings. And when you do that long enough, your feelings catch up, your mind gets stronger, your spirit gets sharper, and what once felt like a sacrifice begins to feel like alignment. You stop doing it just to prove something to the world. You start doing it because it's who you've become. Consistency is where the breakthroughs live. Most people stop when it gets hard. Most people quit when they don't see results fast enough. But the disciplined ones, the ones who show up even when they don't feel like it, those are the ones who grow. Because every day you do what you said you would do, you build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you no longer need external validation. You don't need the applause. You don't need the perfect moment. You just need the plan, the habit, the discipline, even when it's quiet, even when it feels slow. That consistency is sacred. It's what God uses to refine you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for what's next. You don't need to be extreme. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to be consistent with small things. Wake up and make the bed. Say no when you mean no. Show up for the workout. Put the phone down and open the book. Start the prayer even if it's just one honest line. That's where real change begins. Not in the dramatic gesture, but in the faithful repetition of what matters. It's easy to be inspired for a day. It's easy to write the goals down and post them online, but discipline happens in the dark. It happens in the quiet moments where no one's clapping, no one's watching, and it's just you and your decision. And the more you keep showing up, the more power you gain. Not the kind of power that controls others, but the kind of power that helps you master yourself. When you start walking in discipline, life starts to shift. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop wishing for easy. You start embracing process. You start seeing setbacks as training, not punishment. You realize the work you're doing today is preparing you for a future you haven't even seen yet. God honors discipline. He multiplies what you're faithful with, and every time you choose discipline, you're saying yes to the life you were created for. Not the life you stumbled into, but the one you were born to build. One habit at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. You can do everything right, fix your mindset, guard your environment, build discipline, but if you don't know where you're going, you'll still feel lost. Having a clear vision is like having a map in a foreign land. It doesn't mean the journey will be smooth, but it gives your steps direction. Vision brings clarity to chaos. It helps you say no to what doesn't matter because you're anchored in what does. Without a vision, people settle. They follow the crowd. They take whatever life hands them and call it destiny. But when you have a vision, you live with intention. You wake up with purpose. You move with direction. Life no longer just happens to you. You start happening to life. Every great change starts with a vision. Not always loud, not always detailed, but strong enough to pull you through the fog. Vision doesn't mean you have everything figured out. It just means you have a picture of where you're going. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's breaking a cycle that's held your family for generations. Maybe it's walking closer with God, living with more integrity, building something that lasts. Whatever it is, your vision becomes your compass. And when the pressure comes, and it will, you go back to that compass. When doubt starts whispering, when fear starts knocking, when the world tries to distract you with what's urgent but not important, you go back to your vision. You remember why you started. You remember what you're building. You remember who you're becoming. And that's enough to keep you going, even when the path isn't clear. Your vision should scare you a little and excite you a lot. If your vision feels too safe, too small, too predictable, it's probably not big enough. God didn't create you to just exist. He created you to grow, to build, to impact. A powerful vision pulls the best out of you. It forces you to stretch. It demands you rise. It's not about impressing people or proving something. It's about answering the call inside you that says, there's more. And that more isn't just for you. It's for the people your life will touch, the legacy you'll leave, the lives you'll inspire by simply refusing to settle. That's what vision does. It lifts your eyes when life tries to pull you down. But vision without action is just a dream. You've got to take that picture in your mind and start turning it into steps. Don't wait for perfect clarity. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start with what you have. Write it down, speak it out loud, break it into pieces, and take the first one. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a decision, maybe it's a habit you commit to every day. You won't see the entire staircase, but you can take the next step. And with every step, the vision gets stronger. With every move, your faith grows. With every yes to your vision, you're saying no to distraction, no to fear, no to anything that tries to shrink who you are. A clear vision also makes it easier to deal with failure, because when you know where you're going, a setback isn't the end. It's just a lesson. You can fall without quitting. You can lose without being lost. You can go through tough seasons without letting go of the dream. The vision holds you steady. It helps you see beyond what's happening right now. You realize that progress is not always obvious, that growth doesn't always look like success, but you keep building, you keep moving, because your vision is no longer just a goal, it's part of your identity. You don't just have a vision, you become it.